evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Smarten Up, Biblical Education Principles. We are the Weinbergs.
Oh, I think you put Darryl Weinberg there.
I
am
did.
Milena Weinberg,
Uh-oh.
and we're going to get added very shortly.
Boy, man, oh man.
Yeah, so we are the Weinbergs.
Don't forget the wife.
Don't. Okay, we're much better now.
Okay. See, now it is Darryl. But you see, it's at the bottom there.
I know, but anyway, you did a great job, hon.
Okay, thank you.
So, yes, we are here on the Messianic Lamb Network and Facebook Live, YouTube, and different places. So wherever you are viewing us, hello. You are here because you're either a parent or you care about children or you just want to stay informed.
Mm-hmm.
And we just love sharing what we know, what we hear, and just informing you. We would love to, we do have a chat option if you are on the Messianic Lamb Network. And you can ask questions, let us know what you're thinking as you're viewing. And if there's any topics for future shows that you would like to see discussed, anything to do with parenting, education, and our children.
We are all things parenting and education principles. But tonight we have a special guest, and we are very excited to be sharing this lady's story. We met her a few weeks ago at an education event, got to chit-chatting, and there was an immediate connection. She made off with one of my books like a bandit, and apparently is really enjoying it. So, that makes me feel good.
Well, teachers love books, so you can keep them away.
That's right. So we'll make sure that none of them get into my library here, because we'll have to frisk them coming out the door. But tonight we have the privilege of bringing on our special guest, Arden Melnechuk of Keswick or Georgina, Ontario, and the founder of Green Spirit Educational Academy. Welcome, Arden. So good to have you with us.
Yes, thank you so much, Darryl and Melena.
Yeah, so we were excited to meet you. And just like we've promised at the beginning of the show, we just want to present parents, educators, anyone who wants to be involved in with children and so forth. We are bringing you on today to just share a little bit of your journey with education and parenting, whatever. They're kind of interconnected, right? So
they are.
And then just tell us how you came to the point where you decided to open Green Spirit.
Okay, that's a little bit of a long story.
We have time.
Good. I used to own and run a riding academy, equestrian facility years ago. So that's where my teaching began. And then I went back and got my Bachelor of Ed. Probably about 15. Okay, we'll say 15 years ago. Might be a little longer. And then I started teaching in the public school system, which was wonderful. And I got my special education. And I also went back and got my youth justice and intervention, because I really feel that a lot of the children very much are at high risk in our school systems right now. And I'm not sure to this day whether that's just partly to do with geography, income levels, that sort of thing. But the most concerning thing was that some of these children that were coming to me with special needs were not being even looked at for like a year in this public school system. So that was not okay with me. I mean, children, a year for a child is a long, long time. So anyway, so when the COVID hit, we were there. We went on March break, and we did not come back because of the lockdowns, right? And when they were talking about bringing the children back, it was with masks. I did go back for 2 days. I lasted. um, and I just couldn't stand it. I just, my students are coming down to me and they're wet all over their mouth. I'm like, oh my goodness, take that off because you're breathing in all that bacteria and it's awful. And of course, all my coworkers are like, no, 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 Arden has to, they have to keep the mask on. And anyway, it was so I only lasted 2 days. So I think masks are abusive, really. I mean, we would
Mm-hmm.
never have tolerated that like a year before. Would never
Right.
tolerate a person, So it blew my mind. I couldn't believe why they would ever allow that. When especially when the math was showing that these children they were not getting the COVID disease. They were not transmitting it. It was there was hardly any deaths with children,
Yes.
unless of course they had some pretty sickness already happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my friend and I, who I knew years and years ago, we reconnected, and she said, "Arden, I don't want my children going back to school with a mask on." So that was in the summer of that before we went back, and she goes, "I want to open a school." So when after the 2 days that I was there, I called her and I said, "Lisa, we're opening that school." So we
Excellent.
did. Yeah. So we did, and we had our lots of people didn't want their children masked as well. So it worked out. It worked out to be a little oasis for the children, let's say. So that was what led me there. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a
Yes.
calling, I
Well,
believe. That's what I'm here
So,
for, to protect our children.
so how long have you been a teacher for in total?
Um, all my life. But do you mean like a certified teacher?
Yes.
Um, for I guess 18 years now. 18
Okay.
years, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you felt you had the calling to teach children right at an early age.
Yes. Yes. From the very
Okay.
beginning, I went back to school to get my Bachelor of Ed, or my Bachelor of Arts, sorry, to get my Bachelor of Ed. And then
Mm-hmm.
because I was an equestrian myself, I got onto an opportunity came available for me to rent this or lease this horse facility. And so I did that and I taught children in the show ring for many, many years. And then I went back and got my
Mm,
Bachelor of Ed. So,
okay.
yeah.
So do you
Yeah.
have horses?
I did. I had many. I don't right at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously the motivating factor was what was going on under COVID with the masks and everything else. What else? We haven't had to deal with masks for the most part, I guess, for the past year, although there's talk of them coming back now. I mean, who knows what's going on?
excuse
But
me.
what other things within the education system are of concern to you? Do you feel that Green Spirit is helping out with?
Yeah. What have parents expressed why they're coming to you?
Yes. Um, well, I think one of the big things for me is that they're lumping in all these children not according to um, where they are in their learning, but they're
Mm-hmm.
just you're coming in. You were born January to December, and that's where you go right there. So the boy or girl who was born in January is in the same grade level as a little boy or girl, which my son is December 31st baby, right? Well, there's a
Mm,
huge multitude of differences between that, and
right.
that's which is why I love the Montessori philosophy, because it's all about, I mean, my one son, he walked at 10 months. My other son walked at 1 year. Does it mean that one is less intelligent than another or less physically capable than another? No, it's just when they're ready. It's when they're
Mm-hmm.
ready, and that's when they will get up and they will walk. So it's the same with any kind of learning. Some children are not ready to learn language or math at a certain level. And then all of a sudden they will go, oh, okay, well, here I'm ready to take that and go. And so it's important that we are listening to the child, that we have it child led. Okay, so what engages the child is most important. I'm not going to teach a child something that they just tune out on, which is what happens a lot in the public school system. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not only that, but they lump us together with like 20 to 30 children in one classroom. I think that's horrendous. And expect that each individual learner, because every child is unique, every single child has their own learning styles, their own multiple intelligences, their own gifts to share. And if we just ignore that and we just lump them all together in one class and say, okay, well, here it's literacy and it's math, and if you don't do well at that, then you're a failure. That is horrible, because there are so many that are so physically intelligent, so many that are introspectively intelligent, so many that are artistically intelligent, music, it's so you're going to say that a person that is a genius at music, just because they're not very good at math and language, they basically fail. They're not put up to that same standard, and then they become thinking that I am not smart, I'm a failure.
Well, Albert Einstein was considered slow too, so.
Yes, yes, he was. In fact, I think he got that. I read that he got that letter from, or his mother got that letter, and she never told him. Did you read that? She got that letter saying that he doesn't belong. He can't come to school anymore because he doesn't fit in, and he told
I should be. That. I should be as stupid as he is, or he was.
Exactly. Like, how do you measure that?
Well,
how do you measure that?
And you're talking about the class sizes. I interviewed a potential teacher for our pods a while back, and she came from India, and she says in India the class sizes are 40 to 45 kids.
Wow.
I just about fell off my chair. Is like, how do you even know their names, much less manage something like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like an ant farm.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm complaining that it's 25 to 30 children here. I feel bad now.
Oh boy.
Wow.
But we don't have 1.5 billion people in Canada either, so.
It's the population.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So tell us then, at your learning academy, what kind of ratios, what kind of dynamics are you trying to create, and what is it?
First of all,
okay, Darryl has something.
Where'd the name come from?
Oh yes, yeah. Let's start from the beginning. The name.
Okay, so that's interesting, because my horse farm used to be called the Jump Ahead. So when we started out, because we were kind of hiding from the mask officials, we went under my name, a Jump Ahead Learning Center. So, but what our focus is really, I very much want to reintroduce children to Mother Nature and Mother Earth, because that is so important. I mean, I don't see that we can, if we don't know about Mother Nature and everything that runs around us, and where we're from, because basically we're from the earth, and she sustains us, and and we will, when we go back, we will go back to the earth with nothing, right? So if we don't know all that is manifest in nature, how can we make an informed decision on our sovereignty and things like that, right? It's because we don't even know where we're coming from. So, and I find nowadays, so many people are what's the term, germophobics, and worry about all these germs and things like that. When I want people to understand, want my children to understand that they are okay. Like, yes, okay, wash your hands and stay clean. That's just normal stuff. But we are of the earth. We are germs and bacteria. We are all part of that, right? That's who we are. So not to be, you got to be, Lysol or Javix. You don't have to be. So the whole thing is to reintroduce back to Mother Earth, and children have really lacked that. Even in the schoolyards, it's all pavement. It's all like, there's no forest. There's just the odd tree here and there, but and children need to be in there. It's healing and it's soothing, and that's where we're part of that, right? And so it's the green spirit. We teach our children about all kinds of plants and medicinal uses and edible. We are surrounded by a bouquet. You walk out into your front yard and it's pretty much a bouquet. You could go and pick a salad. And, one day Darryl Milena will do that. We'll go out and we'll pick a salad in our front yards. And it's actually pretty delicious. And children know nothing of that. They think dandelions are just this weed and we need Roundup and that sort of thing. And I think it's important that they start to sustain themselves in a natural way, because, I mean, let's face it, the chemicals that we have been put upon us, Roundup and that sort of thing is causing a lot of health issues with our children, and pesticides and herbicides. And so let's get rid of that. Let's get back into regenerative farming, because we're going to lose, we got 60 years, according to Zach Bush, we have 60 years left of good soil. That's it. So we're our stewards of the land. We are the stewards of the land, right? I mean, we are part of this earth, and our children really need to be part of this earth and sustain it.
Well, I just heard a report today that said that now the globalists are saying that they want to get rid of like 70 million acres of trees in order to fight climate change.
Wow.
What happened to plant a tree to clean the air?
Apparently now trees are responsible for climate change, whatever climate change is. Like, what is it? Climate change is every day here in Canada. I don't know about anywhere else in the world.
The weather changes hourly basis.
I thought it was I thought it was the cow's flatulence, not the trees.
I think it was Ronald Reagan that said that cows cause global warming.
Well, and this is why I understand why we need to teach the children how the earth, the cycles, the natural cycles and everything works, because somebody from the TV is going to tell you things like that, and you need to know how it works to say, no, they don't understand it,
Yes.
Because that creates critical thinking when you see how things work.
Exactly.
And exactly. Yes. So, we need to go back to the true science, I think.
Well, and with the understanding that God created the earth for us to manage, to have, it actually says in Genesis that we are to have dominion over the earth. We are to manage it on His behalf.
Yes.
And whether it comes to the plants, making sure that we're not just deforesting, whatever, but also Proverbs 12:10 says that a righteous man looks after the welfare of his animal. Yeah. God is concerned about the animals and wants us to make sure that we're treating them well and we're managing things well, although He's given us animals to eat. And, of course, we'll argue with the vegetarians and the vegans on that. But it's got to be done in such a way where, A, the animals don't suffer, and B, it's done with prudence. Yes. And everything that we're seeing in public education system right now is going counter to that. It's all about destruction. It's all about destruction of life. It's all about destruction of the environment around us. And so, we applaud efforts such as yours to make sure that we're going back to the original intent and purpose of the way it's supposed to be.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. And I think that the big thing there is that all life is sacred. All life is. And we have to treat it like that. Like we take I'm just looking at a spider on my window. We take that spider and we put him back outside, right? We don't just squash him, and that's important, that children understand that life is sacred. Everything we are all part of it. So I think that's very
except for the mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes and houseflies.
Well,
you come after my blood and it's on.
That's it.
And just to go along with what you're saying, Arden, is that when they have done psychological studies of, I guess, a lot of criminals, and they kind of have linked of children's behavior and attitude towards animal, like when they were children, it kind of determines how they function in society later on as adults.
Yes.
So I think, so we also applaud you for, trying to create that compassion and understanding of nature, and so
No, I
that
mean,
we have socially fit children that grow up.
well, and obviously
Absolutely.
we have to make sure that there's a balance, because I think,
Yeah.
there's too much of a pendulum swing in the other direction, where a lot of people in this movement, they start to worship nature, and we're of course not supposed to do that. We worship God who created nature, but we have a
That's right.
respect for nature.
Yes.
And I think that's so critical, because in the days to come, as the globalists, the system that we're operating in turns against us, we're going to need to go back to the land, and we're going to have to get reacquainted real quick in
Well,
order to survive.
that's why
right.
schools like Green Spirit is starting the foundation now. So tell us more about it. What do you do at Green Spirit?
Well, we teach our children how to, like I was saying, how to forage, how to build shelters, how to make a fire, because it's important, how to properly
Hmm.
use knives, basically survival skills out there. Learn how to compass, track, tracking animals, what tracks they have, and I think we take a lot of the indigenous teachings as well. So
Hmm.
we do the grandfather teachings, which I think is really important because that encompasses, respect, love, courage, wisdom, humility, honesty, and truth, right? So all those things are going to make us, if we live by those rules and of course by God's commandments, which is love, very, very based in love and truth and honesty,
Hmm.
that is going to make us the fulfilled people that we should be on this planet. And not very many people are fulfilled nowadays with the way our society is. And our children
Hmm.
have so many mental health issues nowadays.
Mm.
It's absolutely horrendous. So we're trying to
Yeah.
bring that back to um, back to love and respect and back to nature and being feeling that you are a part of it and a unique part of it, because we all have gifts to share to build a community. Without a good, without acknowledging all of our gifts, we don't have a very good community. And we would realize that when we don't have this system anymore, because it is crumbling, and we do have to go back and sustain ourselves. We want to live in a thriving, beautiful community that is full of humility, respect, wisdom, and honoring ourselves and honoring those around us. Right, very
Hmm.
important. And of course,
Yeah, because
honoring
I'm even noticing that in a lot of the stores now, they're starting to put up those metal gates, the grocery stores, because they're setting things up for the digital ID
the digital
that
ID.
you are
Yeah.
going to have to show in order to be able to get in to buy food.
Yes.
So
And like people, and I'm seeing more and more of this happen. So they're getting ready to pull the trigger on this anytime now, and
Yes.
there's going to be a whole bunch of people. We had a community barbecue yesterday here at our house, just for the neighbors. We wanted to welcome everybody over and try to build community. And there was a young couple. He lives down the street, a couple houses down, and his girlfriend. Now he's a chef, okay.
Nice.
But
Yes.
I asked the girlfriend. I said, "Well, do you cook?" And she says, "No, he does." So,
right, and these are skills that a lot of young people are
oh
missing,
my
and
goodness.
they don't learn them until they have to, and it's
So
hard then.
so when the curtain comes down and all of a sudden you can't get in without the digital ID, which a lot of people are going to object to, then you got to, well, then what are you going to do?
You either learn
Mhm.
yourself or make friends with someone
Yeah,
who knows how
Yes.
to.
Yes. Right. We do
very,
teach
very
cooking in our
important.
school. We do teach cooking as well, because
Yeah.
all of that is very important, and home management, right? Because they have to know how to put a hammer into a fence board, like a
So
nail, I should say, hammer a nail into the fence board.
Yeah. Don't put the hammer into the fence.
Don't put the hammer in the fence. No, no.
well, depends how frustrated. So what age groups do you work with?
We do from JK to grade 8.
Okay, so you do the
Yeah.
whole spectrum.
And we
Yeah.
would like to actually, we're looking at in the future putting up a high school, because I don't know if you're aware, but Dr. Byron Bridle is putting together a school, like a university,
Mm.
for the children that us like-minded people have, um, which is so important because now I heard that they've started to the mask mandates in these schools, and I'm worried that it's going to start to become the vaccine mandates again because they were right
Oh yeah.
on that to begin with. So that's you know, this is your temple, and you want to put, you know, this horrible stuff into my body, and you're going to force me to do that? No, and you're not doing it to my children.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had a pastor friend of mine who died of a massive heart attack last week, 45 years
oh,
old,
oh, I'm
because
sorry to hear.
he had to go work in the States, and of course you couldn't get in without the
Mm,
jab.
Yeah.
And I now have a funeral to go to in a couple weeks on account of this. So, you know, people don't understand how serious this is. And I don't know what your experience is, but you know, down here in the Niagara region, which is where we are,
yeah,
we're still finding that there's a disconnect between what's really going on in the schools and, you know, parents really being concerned about it, because we still find that there's this apathy. We've tried to host a number of events, and you know, getting people to come out and participate in them has been a real challenge. Are you finding that people really aren't aware of just um, how dangerous the school system really is?
yes, there is a lot that, like you say, are apathetic. I think it's, and not to say that it's totally their fault, because we are hit with these brainwashing propagandas. They don't call it television programming for nothing.
Right.
So
Amen.
yeah, and yeah, I think I mean, I do believe just we are in the Great Awakening right now,
Hmm.
and people are waking up. It's just we have like a 30% that know, 30% that have their heads buried in the sand, and then there's this 30% that are kind of on the fence,
Yeah.
and it really like, I can't believe, for example, these drag queen things that they're having at the library reads. I mean, it's just appalling to me how any parent could even think of taking their child to something like that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
where's the disconnect there? Where is the disconnect there?
as as a professional educator, now I'm married to one, so I already know what
I
her.
told him all the brain research and
Yeah, but as a professional educator, and you've
yeah.
been at this for quite a while now, what is the effect of what they're doing? Because we haven't talked about the sexuality yet. We've talked about, you know, the medical stuff, but the whole emphasis on sexuality, and what do you think is the agenda behind it, and what is the effect
The
that this is
effects.
having on the children today?
Ooh, that's a deep subject. Now, I've been down a lot of deep rabbit holes with this, and I really believe that it has to do with the pedophilia.
Yeah.
I think that
Okay.
they are trying to normalize that, and they're
Hmm.
grooming our children to be preyed upon.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I know that you know, they say, oh, children should want to have, children do want to have sex with adults. No, children do not want to have sex with adults. Children just they're this beautiful light. Just let them be children. Let them be this beautiful light.
Children don't want to have sex with anybody.
Yeah. They're
No,
children. Yeah.
That's an adult
exactly.
function.
Yeah.
It absolutely, Daryl, absolutely. So yes, and I think you know what's going on in our schools, and I love that this $1 million, or not $1 million, but the million people march is happening
Yes.
on the 20th. So
Mhm.
um, because we have to rise up.
Yes, and
We gotta,
part of the reason I think parents are not doing much is because I think that they feel that they don't have choice, or it's the choices that they have are too tough, and changes stuff. So a lot of them feel alone and so forth. So I think
yeah.
that's going to help with that. So how do we help parents to um, overcome some of the things that are stopping them from really standing up
Well,
and
you know,
doing
in
something?
your conversations with parents, are you talking to them about what the SOGI agenda is doing to the children? Are there studies that you reference? as to what's happening. I mean, I think it was
Does that come up? I don't know.
It was either last week or 2 weeks ago. We mentioned. Oh, sorry. We were actually interviewed by the Toronto Star, and they were asking us our opinion on this legislation that's now requiring parents to be informed. Well, it's shocking. But I said there's been a 4,000% increase in children identifying as transgender. And I said, that's got to come from somewhere. That doesn't just happen naturally. That doesn't happen organically. That's got to be pushed. So in your conversations with parents, Arden, are you having these discussions? Are parents aware that this is going on? Or are they still kind of saying, well, it's not that bad?
Well, the parents in my school are totally aware, which is why they're
in your school, but that's why they're there.
Yeah, exactly. So with other parents, getting into that kind of conversation is sometimes tough. But I do believe that a lot of what the children are going through is because of the vaccine schedule that we've been going through for millennia now. Since I was young, they get 72 doses of this vaccine with both female and male genes in it, right? The fetal tissue. So I think that there is some confusion, rightly so, because they are messing with God's DNA. The same with the mRNA. It's DNA transitioner, and having said that, I think that we've also programmed. Television is another big thing, Darryl, a huge thing, and Melena, I'm sure you'll agree. You see in all these television shows that, oh, it's okay. It's, oh, my son wants to transition to a woman, or vice versa. And it's like allowed, it's okay. It's expected. It's supposed to, oh yeah, that's fine. So it normalizes it again, if I can spit that out. And I think our community has become so divided and disassociated with one another. I think really it's a question of bringing us back together and getting the community again, and that unification, I think, is key. That we all come back together. Now, how do we hit the parents that are kind of programmed and brainwashed into this thinking? I honestly don't know. I think we just have to try to educate them as best as we can without making any judgment. And I think with love, just I don't know how else to do it, Darryl. I think love is the key for everything.
Yeah.
So
well, that's a pretty biblical principle.
Do everything with love. Yes.
1 Corinthians chapter 13 says that I can offer my body up as a sacrifice, but if it's not done with love and through love, then it's a meaningless thing. And the problem is that wedge politics has been used against us so effectively that everybody in society is against everybody. You had the vaxxed versus the non-vaxxed. You had the masked versus the non-vaxxed. You had the whites versus the blacks, and the French versus the English, and it just goes on and on and on. And, listen, everybody's got to learn to live in harmony. Everybody has to make their choices, but we've got to respect one another's choices.
And I think that million-person march, it's not against LGBTQ community. No. It is against the parental choice being taken, the parental information, the parents' values being ignored, and actually some families are not being included in the public school culture now because of what is a true inclusivity. And so I think that respect that you're trying to teach, and valuing and loving others, and really defining what love is, because I think this is where we are sometimes.
There was a song about that back in the 80s.
Yes.
There's been a few.
I want to know what love is.
Well, there's the music industry, there's Hollywood and so forth, but what is it, how do you even explain it to children? What is it to love somebody, right? What is it to treat them with respect?
Yes, and I think that starts from coming from loving yourself, right?
Yes.
So children have to learn to honor their own gifts and what they
Hmm.
have, and I find that that's where the school system lacks a lot because, like I was saying earlier, if they're good at one thing that is not on the grading report, then they're made to feel like they're not good enough, that they're not smart. Whereas they are genius at music or genius at cooking or wherever their talents lie. And we don't have courses like that in the school system to offer that. I mean,
Right.
right? How many
Yeah.
children get a chance to cook in a school system?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Well, when I was younger, we had home ec. I remember baking cookies when I was in grade 8. I don't remember if they were edible or not, but
But you always start with those, and that's another thing, the growth mindset. You start with, not having the greatest.
hey, I made you
yeah,
cookies
exactly.
2 years ago.
Yeah. You've gotten
were
much
they
better.
were they edible? Were they edible, Melina?
Yes, they were actually really good. So he's
There
done.
you
He's
go.
walked a long way since school time.
See, exactly, Daryl. See, you never gave up. That's the most important thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's we're in very troubling times with our children, and we need to really I feel definitely we need to get them out of the public school system because it's become an indoctrination system, and it's grooming our children, um, sexualizing our children, and creating even more mental health disorders, and that's not how a school should be. A school
Yeah.
should be giving those children light and love, and respecting all that they have to offer, because
So,
every child has lots to offer. They have their own little
Yeah.
gifts, and it's spending that
so
time with the child to get to know them and knowing where their growth is, and how to
okay.
help them grow. Yeah, some are not very good in math. Yeah, well, help them as much as you can, to a certain level that maybe that's where they're gonna, take it upon themselves to learn later. But you can only do so much. I'm not going to take my child away from reading and doing. If they were excellent readers, I'm not going to take them away and all of a sudden do, okay, we got to put you in math so you get the math up, right? Because that's maybe not where their gifts lie. I
Not
want to
everybody's
strengthen.
designed to be an engineer.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and not everybody is a baker. Right?
See,
Uh,
speaking of cookies and baking.
that's right.
So
They
it's all
disappeared pretty quick, though.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
No,
did.
they were good cookies.
but that
Well,
doesn't
and
mean
that,
that they can't do it. Right?
Yeah.
They can do it. They can do anything they put their mind to. Anything they put their mind to, anything they want
and
to do.
helping them discover what it is that they're interested in, just exposing them to different experiences.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Arden,
That is key.
tell us a little bit about how Green Spirit is structured. How many classes do you have? Are you looking to expand? What, kind of where are you at? Where do you intend on going?
Um, well, we're structured that we offer nature walks and talks. We offer the language, math, science, social studies, all that offers in the regular classroom, but we do it in a way where we don't have grade levels. So all my students, we're very collaborative, my team, and we work where a child is at, and then we bring them along from there. And I would love to, yeah, I think that kind of philosophy, and I see all kinds of alternative schools opening, and I think it's so wonderful. And yes, we need to take that and expand it throughout the world, really, because that's our children need to be, um, they need to be honored for who they are and who their gifts are. They're unique little
Hmm.
individuals, and each one of them is so precious, and you get to know them. And you
So how
can't
many?
do that if you have 30 children in your class. You can't.
So how many classes do you have then?
Or kids, or I don't know,
How many classes do I have?
Yeah.
groups, or I don't know.
Well, we have 19 children in our school right now.
Okay.
Um, we have like JK, SK, because they're different uh, operational, like Piegeot's pre-operational, concrete operational. They're all at their different learning stages. So where they are in their
Right.
learning stages is where we try to put them.
Okay.
So, for example, we might have like my little Kyrie, he's now in grade 1, age wise, but he's not really,
Yeah.
but he will be. So it's just, he wants to go back into the kindergarten and play. I mean, it's the first day, but I can just see he does not want to be with the grade 1s and 2s and 3s, and he would rather be with his little JKSK friends, right? So, but there's
Hmm.
a growth process. So it's like, okay, you do that, you go play, and that's where you're going to learn the best. And then we'll just bring him along with scaffold the learning and bring him along to when he's ready to start reading and writing and being part of the more of the grade 1 kind of work, or grade, because we, and I have, so when I was teaching at the DDSB at in the school system there, I had a grade 2 class where I had 30 kids in the grade 2 class. And I tell you, the grade 2s, some of them were at a kindergarten level of reading. Some of them were at a kindergarten level of math. Some of them were at a grade 4 level of reading, right?
Right.
So why should I um, not put those children where they belong? All the children that are where they need to be in that grade 1 level math should be all together. Shouldn't be about their age. It
Hmm.
should be about where they are in their learning and where they
Yeah.
want to be, right? So that's what we really, really struggle and really work hard to accomplish, is putting the children where they need to be to learn the best and to
Right.
strive and to feel success, because success breeds success, right? And that's what we want. I want them to be successful learners and love learning. Learning is, it's around, like we give if a light bulb goes off, right? How much learning is there with a light bulb going off, right? We can, okay,
Hmm.
what do we, how much is it going to cost to replace the light bulb? There's our math, right? Let's budget. Okay, what kind of light bulb do we need? Who invented the light bulb? What makes a light bulb operate? Okay, well, there's electricity. So now let's look at electricity. There's so much learning to do in every little thing that we do, that we have, right? And you can
Hmm.
you can encompass and interrelate math and language and science all within one thing that you're doing. So we want to build a chicken coop this year. We're going to hatch chickens. We already have done that in the past. We're going to hatch some chickens and we're going to build a coop. So there's your math area, perimeter, right? How much lumber do we need? What kind of lumber do we need? What kind of chickens are we going to have? How do we take care of those chickens? Because that's very important, taking care of our animals, and there's so much to learn just with one project. That's why we try to
Yes.
project base it, kind of thing, right? So, and
Hmm.
give the children the options of what they want to do. One children might want to build a coop, one might not. Might want to take care of the chickens, right? So we put them in charge of that, taking care of the chickens and ordering the feed. And maybe they might want to know what's the health of the chicken, and how we, if one chicken gets sick, right? Some children might really want to know that. So it's all about encompassing all these things with what the children want, what they engages them, where they're directed.
And
I
then,
Sorry, I
love
know.
what you're saying. Yeah.
and
And
then
I know, I
someone's got to
know.
learn to cook the chickens too, right?
oh, we're back to cooking.
And see, at the end, we need to make chicken soup, right?
I
Exactly.
used I used to have I used to have an organic meat business, and someone came to me. I was at a farmer's market one day, and someone came to my booth and said to me that animals should only have one bad day. And I thought that was
I
Right.
brilliant.
They should
agree,
be
a
treated
hundred
well.
percent.
Yes.
Beautifully, beautifully put.
So I love what you're saying. And listen, because I was one of those kids, I always ask questions, I always try things out. And I know kids are naturally curious.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those teachers that I love to hear some like good stories from your school, something that has been really successful, that
Hmm.
has been just heartwarming, and breakthroughs, anything of that you can share with us.
Well, I can tell you about our desert ecosystem that we put together. So
Okay.
last year, the children wanted to put together our own ecosystem, which, I of course inspired, because I love that kind
Hmm.
of stuff, nature and ecosystems. And let's how does the world work, right? How does all that, like, we have the frogs, we have a frog pond in the back, because we have on our property where our school is, we have 5 acres of forest.
Mm.
So we take the kids back there and we have 2 ponds. So, which is awesome to explore. The children, there's so much to learn in the pond, and the children love it. But yeah, we built this desert ecosystem, and they wanted a scorpion. But I said, no, absolutely, there's going to be no scorpion because they have to identify, right, who the predator is and the whole ecosystem down to what the predator eats and that sort of thing. So that was awesome. We're finishing it this year, so it's the children were just just loved it. And I also have another story with our cooking. So I have our kindergartens join in the cooking as well, and one of my little students, I showed them how to make little pizzas. That was the first meal that we ever made, was the little pizzas out of an English muffin. You put tomato paste and then you put the cheese, and it's very easy to make. So she went home and she made it for her parents, like, and their parents were like, "Wow, we know how, we know she knows how to make those pizzas, aren't they?" So that was, and the parents just love it. And now she went to cooking school over the summer holidays, right? Like, isn't that awesome? I think that's awesome, because that's now she's got that. This is what I love to do, and she's taking that and she's going with it, as opposed to feeling like, oh, I'm not any good at it, or I'm not good at anything. So yeah, they're taking that and going with it, and I love it. Yeah,
that is great. She experienced success, and now and children need just encouragement. Absolutely, I love what you're doing.
Yes.
Because I find over the past year, when students were back in the classroom after disruptions for a couple of years, and like you said, because of their age, they were put in certain grade level, they were expected. And I think a lot of kids feel they're very hard on themselves. They don't feel adequate. And so that experience, I love it, that you take the time to find out where they need to be at, and just encourage, because you are teaching these kids skills they don't know yet. But
but you're encouraging them.
Yeah.
And when you compare that to what's going on in the school system, where children are being taught that they're not who they really are, that in essence, that what they have been told that they are is a mistake. I mean, how damaging is that to a child's psyche, that you're in the wrong body, and that, first of all, that God made a mistake, and I don't want to be in the shoes of someone who says that kind of thing, but more, even to the psyche of the child, is that, oh, I'm not what I'm supposed to be. I'm a mistake.
Yeah, you want to highlight what's good about them versus what's wrong and what needs to be changed. Yeah, so we love. And that's why schools like yours are very, very important in the community for families. And so what are some of the things that parents say, like some to you?
Well, they love it. They're excited about what their children are learning. I do have, it's funny because I do have the parents that do want, oh, the math should be at this grade level and this, and it's like explaining to them, well, not every, they don't have to be at that grade level just yet, but they will be, right? They will be when they're ready to be there. So, and that's really hard, because we've all been through the indoctrination system, myself included. So I know how hard it was just when we started. There's been a lot of changes in the last 3 years with our own philosophies and what we see working and what's not working, and just keeping the child in mind, right? But the parents, they love it. They love to see their children come home happy, wanting to learn, wanting to be part of it, and not wanting them to pick them up. Right?
Aww.
So I think that's the best thing, is like, oh, mom, dad, go, right? Come back later, because they're after school playing with their friends, or today we played Uno, and the one children were like, come back later, come back in about 15 minutes, kind of thing, to their parents, which is wonderful. So they're engaged in what they're doing, and they're becoming, and I think this is really important, is a community. We are a community, and we accept everybody for who they are, what they are, and that is so important, so important. And that's what's not allowed in the school system either. I think they encourage bullying in the school system, to be honest. I've seen it time and time again, and it just appalls me. We don't we don't work out things together, reconcile. And
but isn't that what our politicians are doing?
Well, they're modeling it. It's true,
No,
though.
I mean, listen,
Yeah.
what is Trudeau doing? Anybody he disagrees with, he denigrates, he puts down, he sends
Absolutely.
in the police after them. And
So we need some
Runs them
adults to
over with
model.
horses. Runs
yeah,
them over with horses. Absolutely. Yeah.
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 And the children need to see adults modeling that goodness and love that we want
Yes.
them to have.
listen,
I agree
regardless of
100%.
whether I want my son to pick up on what I'm doing or even what I'm thinking,
He will.
he does anyway.
You will. Yes.
That is the way that we are wired.
Absolutely.
You think you may be saying things out of earshot, and you get a rude surprise later on when they say something, you repeat something that you're proud of. You're all good with that.
It's all good. Yeah. Exactly. But
Children cause us to look at ourselves
Yeah.
and say, hey,
Absolutely.
what am I
Yes.
doing? So absolutely. So I believe
That's
you're
true,
making
Marna.
impact in your community and families, and a positive one.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I think the whole thing is that they're trying to desecrate the family unit, right?
yes,
And I think
Wow.
that's where we have to step in, and we have to bring the family units back together, and everybody in our school community is all part of each other. Like, we're all love, respect, honor, even though we don't always get along. That's where we have to work it out and reconcile those differences, right? And accept it, because that's what we have to do here in real life. And that's
yeah,
what's not being done.
Yeah.
It's one narrative, and not, oh, if you don't follow my narrative, see you, you're in jail, right? Like that pastor, I think he's still in jail, is he not?
Art
The pastor who
Pawlowski.
kept his church open
I think they're
through COVID.
still kind of in the sentencing phase. I don't believe they've passed verdict yet, but yeah, I mean, he's under house arrest right now
he's in
anyway.
house arrest.
But
Yeah.
but verdict on what? Like, that's where there should be no verdict at all. He should be allowed to keep his church open and bring if they can open Walmart, and if they
Yeah.
can open what's that other big store there?
Costco.
Costco. Yeah. Why can't we have a church congregation and allow people to
The strip
gather?
clubs were allowed to be open.
Oh goodness.
Yes, yeah, and the beer stores.
Oh,
My
yeah.
goodness. It's evil. Evil is just, and we must shine our light. It's time to rise and shine our light in, because darkness
Yeah.
cannot exist in light.
Yep,
Cannot.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So
our
we got
children
just
are light givers.
Yes, and so we just have a couple of minutes left. So what is next for Green Spirit? What's next for Arden? And where do you see things going over the next little while?
Well, there's a lot of changes happening in our world right now. I'm excited about this Million March. I'm very excited about that.
Right.
I understand that there's some things happening along. I know Dr. David Martin has taken challenged them to court and things like that. I know Fauci is going to be brought in. So much things is happening right now in the world. What I would like to see is, I would like to get back to the grassroots in our political base, and protect our children, get them out of the public school system, and create our own parallel system. And I think
Yeah.
that's where we have to go. We have to create our own systems outside of because it's just full of evil right now. And we need to get them out of the evil and bring them into the light.
Yes.
Yeah.
And achieve unity, and through all these
Absolutely.
values.
Yes. And the children, we have to protect our children. That's our future, right? And God's children, he would not. I know he's not happy with what's going on right now.
Well,
we are accountable.
The scripture Jesus says is that if you harm one of these little children, it would be better if a millstone were hung around your neck and you were cast into the deepest part of the ocean. And I think there's a lot of millstones that are being sized up right now. So,
I bet you $1 million.
Yeah, no kidding. So how do people find you, Arden?
They can find us at at greenspirited.ca.
Okay.
Okay.
It's GREENSPIRITED.ca.
Okay.
Our email address is greenspirited23, so greenspiritad23, just happened to be green spirited because it's Green Spirit Educational Academy.
Yep.
I can certainly give you, well, you can find out from our website what our contact information is.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Arden, it's been such a pleasure talking with you tonight, and just, one more person out there who's fighting for our children. We thank you for what you're doing.
Yes.
And pray that God would give you favor and success and much wisdom in navigating through these times. So thank you for
so
joining
much,
us tonight.
Yes. Thank you.
And
you're welcome.
And on that note, we've come to the end of another broadcast. So we thank everybody for joining us, whether you're watching live or on demand. And we are continuing to proclaim God's ways for dealing with our children and for living a prosperous life. So until next week, we bid you a good evening. And once again, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is older, he will not depart from it. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.